Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Jennie Montgomery. Welcome to a very special half hour as we hear the remarkable stories of several adults who have found biological siblings many years after they were separated by adoption. They're known as B. Hamilton babies, referring to the juvenile court officer at the time, B. Hamilton, who died in 1988. My stories with B. Hamilton baby started in August of 2015 when Audrey Crook contacted me about her search for her long-lost brother, Joey. It was an amazing story. Take a look. We brought you the story of an Augusta woman who'd been searching for her brother for 50 years. Audrey and Joey Sidler were put up for adoption, literally ripped apart on the courthouse steps.
Not a day that goes by that I don't visualize coming down them steps, holding his little hand, and being told, Audrey, you go with that family. Joey, you go with that family. We don't love y'all no more.
We shared Audrey's story of her decades of searching for her brother, Joey. She had the court documents signed by B. Hamilton. She had the name of his first adoptive family. But then the paper trail stopped until our viewers shared the story on social media. Thousands of you shared our story on Facebook, and 2 days later, Joey drove to Augusta to meet the sister he had missed for decades, even though he didn't remember her name. Different faces.
A long time.
Same hearts.
I have missed you. God answers prayers.
Yes, he does. He does. That's all we got to pray. He's the master. I'm going to show you this. And they shut the door on me. Told me there wasn't any paperwork. Don't know how much I missed you.
A painful past.
A long, long time ago, and it really still hurts to today. It's not going to hurt no more. No.
Audrey and Joey's reunion was a moment I, for one, will never forget. They had missed each other for 50 years. The memory of a sibling somewhere haunted them throughout those decades. My first guest today didn't even know they had a sibling and only recently learned they were B. Hamilton victims too. I want to introduce you now to Debi Drummond and to Barbara Hudson. Their story is just remarkable. Again, they didn't know each other. They didn't know that each other existed. And I really want you all to tell the story. Barbara, I want to go back 15 years ago when you're looking in a family Bible.
I was looking in my mother's Bible as she was battling ovarian cancer, and for the first time in my life I saw a name, Beverly K. Perry, born May 10th, 1953. I was so stunned, it took a moment, and I finally asked Mother, who in the world is Beverly K. Perry?
Because these were like family births
Yes,
and deaths
it was
in the Bible.
Me and my two cousins, and then this name. And she said it was a baby I had. And she said it so softly, and it took me a moment to think, should I go press her about it? And I said, well, what in the world? And she said, they told me she died. And at that, I never asked another question.
And so you just, that was just kind of a weird little thing with your mom, but life goes on. You didn't think much about it. Debi, on the other hand, grew up knowing you were adopted.
Yes, right. Yes, and I had lost my husband and lost both of my parents within 20 months of each other, 1 week apart. And I went to a great depth of depression. Right. And so my daughter, without me knowing it, submitted her DNA to try to get some answers.
Right, because again, not knowing your biological family history, your daughters don't, they're
Correct.
curious too.
They are,
Yeah.
They are.
And the daughter in Knoxville comes knocking on Mama's door.
Yes. The daughter that lives here in North Augusta had contacted her, and she knew all about the process of what she was going through with submitting the DNA. And so when she finally was able to talk with Barbara, she contacted my oldest daughter that lives in Knoxville. And she came the day, Memorial Day. Memorial Day. She came and surprised us. Surprised
2018 Memorial Day.
Yeah,
this is still so new.
And both my girls sat me down and told me that I have a sister and an uncle, and they're right here in Augusta, Georgia. And so we met that night for the first time.
Yeah, like 10 minutes later, they're like in your
exactly. They're at the house.
I think it's so funny. Your daughter said, "Mom, do you need to think about this?" And you were like,
"No, I've had 65 years to think about it." And so I've always, I had loving parents, but I was very blessed and fortunate to have loving parents, but there was always the nagging question, where did I come from? Who do I look like?
Right.
Why was I given away?
Right.
So now that we have found each other, we've found a lot of answers.
And Barbara, this all just hit you. I mean,
totally blindsided.
Yeah.
I had 48 hours to absorb it before I met her.
Yeah.
Because they had already told you.
Contacted me. My uncle had. And then Kim and I talked on the telephone on Memorial Day, and it was the minute I heard her voice, there was just something there. And she asked me, did I need to think about it? And was I willing? And I said, absolutely.
Right.
No hesitation.
The idea that you all grew up, you were in North Augusta, you were in Augusta, you have just found so many interesting little connections
our
of
paths
crossing.
Many times.
Many times. Many times.
Oh, that is just just amazing. We talked a little bit earlier about all of this and the idea of the depression that you were in, the losing those people that were closest to you that you had known the longest.
They had the three people that had loved me the most in my life were now gone. And I mean, I have the girls, of course, but this is just God's timing in bringing us together 65 years, 70 years later. God said, this girl needs a sister. And look what he gave me.
That's right. Well, I want you to look at what he gave her, and when we come back after this break, you are going to be stunned at the family resemblances between these two and their kids. Stay with us. Sisters Debi Drummond and Barbara Hudson met for the first time last summer at ages 65 and 70. You've got to see this. Take a look at these two cuties when they were both in the first grade. You can see such a strong resemblance. Now, they're 5 years apart, of course. They didn't get to share their childhoods, but thanks to one of those at-home DNA kits, they now have a chance to share their lives, their families, and to continue the rest of their lives in each other's lives.
It's like we've been together our whole lives.
I know.
Well,
just picked up.
You never knew your birth mother.
No.
But or your father. I don't know why I want to say birth mother. Your parents, right.
Mm-hmm.
But you, of course, did. They were your parents.
Yes.
And I just can't imagine what it's like for you, because surely she has mannerisms and things that remind you of your mom.
Absolutely. She does. Not only mannerisms, it's her body frame, her facial features. She's more mother than I am, and that's what my husband said the first night we met.
Well, I want to go ahead and just show you these pictures right now, and you'll see, because I believe the first picture we have is your parents.
That's
and
our
you can
parents.
just see there's so much of Debbie and your mother.
I know.
Oh, so tell me, that's your parents?
That's my parents. My dad just in this, now Debbie,
That's my parents, my adoptive parents.
And you
look at her.
You grew up an only child.
I had a brother.
Oh, you had a brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the Bible.
That's the Bible. That's the night that I saw that.
And you see the two birth dates.
2004.
Barbara
Right.
there in 48.
Right.
And
Now
then
that's my daughter, our only daughter, on the left, and Debbie's oldest daughter, Kelly.
that
on the
is
right.
crazy. That is crazy. They look like twins.
And there's
There
the
you go.
triplets.
There's the triplets.
Okay, so they're cousins.
Yes.
And it is astounding. Oh, I mean, if they ran into each other like at TJ Maxx or whatever, would they
know.
think they're looking in a mirror?
You would think.
And the grandchildren.
Yes, that's on the left is Abby. That's Debbie's oldest granddaughter, and Sarah on the right. Now that's our whole group. That was a beautiful day. That was
our First reunion.
First time to
First
ever have all
reunion.
the family together. In August, we did
Yeah,
that in August.
you know.
That is just, it's a beautiful picture, and it makes me have so many questions. First of all, just the comment about the loss of family, Debbie, and
Right.
then gaining so much family.
Right.
I mean,
And
that's so beautiful.
I learned so much about my biological mother through Barbara's eyes. You know, I mean, Barbara's just has filled me in so much, and it's given me an identity. You know,
Yeah.
to learn so much. Questions that we've had our whole lives on different ends of the spectrum. You know, but
Your daughters would have been very excited to meet this family, you know, because they had initiated the
Right.
DNA thing.
Right.
And they knew. But Barbara, not only did you have to absorb, wow, I have a sister, you had your child and your
explain.
grandchildren. How did you do that?
Well, actually, I had my husband do it first.
Okay.
Because I knew I'd be too emotional. But that was something that really bothered me. I didn't have any idea how they were going to be, how they would take this. But it couldn't have been any more beautiful. My daughter and my granddaughters texted me and said, "Mom told us you have a sister. How cool is that?" So
Oh,
that was a
that was
wonderful
really good.
relief. Yes,
Yeah.
it was. And whenever we're together, my daughter says, "Debbie, I'm so sorry to stare at you, but it's like looking at my grandmother."
And it
I'm
gives
sure.
me an identity again, all over again.
I guess so.
You know, because I mean, Ashley is just.
And that's-
I'm just in love with her because she looks at me and says, she sees her grandmother.
You're going to make me cry.
I
You
know.
know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It is so emotionally
Yeah.
overwhelming. It's been amazing. It really has.
The kids, the grandkids
Grandchildren.
are all
Oh, they're
buddies.
all connected.
Like they've
Our-
been their whole entire
yeah,
lives.
Yeah. Yeah, they stay in touch with each other on social media.
They do.
And
Yeah.
and when they get together, it's like immediately they take off and split up and do their thing.
Yeah.
How exciting! Just how
Very.
wonderful!
It
It
is.
just that picture just looks like just so much love,
It is.
I know it. That's exactly,
exactly
what
what
it
it
is.
and
Exactly.
a surprise in your life when you least expected it.
Never. would
Oh,
I've
my
ever
gosh.
Imagined.
Imagine. That's
Ever.
become our word.
Yeah.
Imagine.
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 Well, now what have you all discovered about times where you know your paths crossed and living here in this area
in this
your
area.
whole lives?
Well, and we know for a fact that Debbie was a bridesmaid in a wedding in North Augusta, and I was there. I was in the receiving line. There's a photograph of me in the receiving line. We feel that we've been on trips together through
Yeah.
this television station
Right.
way back
Yeah.
in the day.
Yeah.
On airplanes
Oh,
together.
yeah. So we know we were
Yeah.
part of that. Every now and then we still stumble on something and
Exactly.
know that
and
we were
no,
there.
we had a A&G, our
Churches
cousin.
across the street from each
Well,
other.
we have a first cousin
Uh-huh.
that actually grew up on Woodlawn Avenue until about the age of 10. And she was in
About a mile up.
Fairyland Kindergarten where all of Debbie's friends were. And
Yeah.
then they were in Sunday school class together. And,
Primary
and
Sunday school
my
class.
cousin remembers her, can remember visualizing as soon as we heard
I didn't even think about that too. The extended family
Oh, yeah.
that
Yeah.
you've met.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Our
Yeah.
uncle,
Uh-huh.
our connection.
Yeah.
He's Uncle Billy. He's the one that the DNA.
How exciting for Uncle Billy to see all of this.
You know, he really has. I think he worried a little bit about how, at first I was in such shock and disbelief, but he checks on me every now and then. He calls just to see. He said, "Do you and Debbie talk? Do you and Debbie see each other?" And then it really makes him feel good when I say, "Yeah, we talk every day and we're together at least 2 or 3 days a week."
And he's involved with my grandchildren
Yes.
Yeah.
as well.
For your daughters to lose their dad
Yeah.
and now
been tough.
have someone else, an uncle.
And he's stepped right in. He
yeah.
has stepped right in and just is their uncle.
Right.
You know?
I love your story so much. I just love it, and I'm so happy for you all. I'm
Thank
so
you,
happy
Jennie.
that you got the answers and that you
Exactly.
needed, and that you are embraced by
Very-
your family.
We're very
It's
enriched
just-
and blessed.
We are.
That's awesome.
Very much
We
so.
really are.
Well, much happiness to
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Thanks.
Welcome back, everyone. I was so moved by this message from a viewer. She wrote, "Being taken from your mom's arms and or forced into adoption is terrible with heartbreaking memories. I, for one, would love to find my brother who was stripped from the mom's arms, but nonetheless, all parties affected need some form of closure." Sossette Shivers wrote me and told me that she had discovered that she is impacted and was a B. Hamilton baby. You grew up in a family actually where there were 4 adopted children. You and your twin sister
Right.
were raised with 2 other adopted children.
Yes, yes.
So catch us up, bring us up to speed. You discovered, when you knew when you were a child you were adopted.
Right. And excuse me, later on, we questioned where we came from, and one day I was at work and overheard my boss saying to her mom, about her preacher was wanting to find his twin sisters and his other biological brother. And one thing led to another, and that's how I found the biological family.
It's so interesting because you had told me that you weren't scheduled to work that day. They called you and needed you to come in.
That's right. So it was at the right time. Everything works out.
So you had just been curious about your biological family.
Right.
And it was when you found another brother that you realized he totally had B. Hamilton memories.
He did. He was telling me, excuse me, he was telling me that he can remember that B. Hamilton and a gentleman came and took the other brother straight out of the mother's arms. And he just stood there because he was, a little bit older, and he just sat there and watched as they took his brother. There was nothing that they could do. And what I've been told from Pops, which is the biological father, that he said that back then they would go and take babies from the poor and they would sell them to the rich and adopt them out.
And that is, you just were victims.
We
Yeah.
were victims.
What was it like when you found your birth father?
Oh my gosh, I was at work and they had us meet and set up, and my legs crumbled. I couldn't even walk down the hallway. But when I saw him, I just ran over and knelt in front of him, and we both cried. And he said he let me go once, he would never leave me again. I mean, I love him to death. He was the best. Pops. I mean, he was Pops.
Yeah.
He
You
wasn't my
loved your
father.
adoptive family.
Right. He wasn't my father. He might have birthed me, but he was
Right.
not my father.
Yeah.
That's why I call him Pops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things you also said was that, so many people are affected by this, and that you feel like it's important for people to be able to have closure about, the B. Hamilton babies. Closure is an important thing to you.
You do need closure because what they did was wrong. And, I can't imagine what my biological mother felt when they came and took the brother and then forced her to give us up in adoption. I can't imagine the devastation that she went through and all the other, parents and even us kids, and there needs to be some kind of closure. And so I reached out because I wanted to find my other brother.
Right, right. You did learn through this process that the grass, you said, isn't always greener on the other side, and that blood doesn't make you family.
That is very true. The grass isn't always greener. You expect certain things, and then it turns out completely different. Mm-hmm. And just because you're not blood doesn't mean you're family. You're not family, because my family is who I grew up with. Right. They will always be my family. That's important. But also it's important to find where you come from because of the medical situation.
Right, right. You're at peace with your situation right now, even though it might not be exactly how you wanted it to be. At least you've filled in some of the blanks.
I have filled in all the blanks that I was searching for, and so I am at peace, whether or not things carry through, later on. And sometimes it's best to leave the past in the past. God knows what
Was
he's
your
doing.
sister as interested in finding other birth family as you were, your twin?
She was, but not as much as me, because I was more dominant over her or whatever. I did more talking, and I was the one that was wanting to look, and she went along with it. She agreed, you know, but she's not as hands-on as I am.
Yeah.
I'm more family type.
Right.
Because I'm interested. I want to know. I want to know where I come from, who I was, you know, I want to know. And so if you don't ask questions, you're never going to find out.
Would you encourage anybody that's searching to keep on with it?
I would, but use caution, and just take care of your heart, because sometimes your heart's going to get broken through the search.
Good advice, and I appreciate you sharing your very personal story with us, Sossette.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back. That is all the time we have today. Thanks again to Sossette Shivers, Barbara Hudson, and Debi Drummond for sharing their stories today. So many questions about the B. Hamilton black market babies will never be answered. But as you've seen, closure can come for some of the victims. If you are looking for biological family members, you may have success with some of these websites. And we've got this information posted on our website, WJBF.com. Just click the Jennie link. Have a wonderful afternoon, and remember, everyone has a story to tell if you'll take the time to listen. See you again next Tuesday at 12:30 for Jennie.